How exactly did Rebecca in Cyberpunk Edgerunners end up on this path to death? When Rebecca first appeared, it was easy to mistake her for a character designed solely to appeal to certain fetishes. She seemed to have nothing but surface-level traits and no real backstory, the kind of character who would be forgotten about a month after the show ended. However, I soon realized that wasn't the case. The way she interacted with her brother was very warm. Considering her subsequent anger and resignation after her brother was killed by a cyberpsycho, there was a sense of lingering tenderness amidst the harshness of life and death. Looking closely at the details, Rebecca wasn't just some random little girl. She was someone who had been through the ringer in the cyberpunk world, struggling to survive. Many characters in the show had a love-hate relationship with the cyberpunk lifestyle, but Rebecca didn't. She chose to accept it. At the same time, she was the most humane person in the entire team. She was the only one who constantly cared about David. However, this very emotion ultimately dragged her into the abyss. When Rebecca realized that David was being consumed by his cybernetic enhancements, she began to want to protect him. She didn't want David to turn into a cyberpsycho. She loved David as a person, and she didn't want to see the human part of him disappear. Especially during the final mission, Rebecca was extremely reluctant. She could sense how much this mission was going to take out of David. But when David said, "I can't trust anyone but you," Rebecca knew she was trapped. She could only watch helplessly as David put himself in danger. When the protagonist was forced to install the Atom Smasher cyberware after being ambushed, Falco didn't object. He calmly accepted David's self-destructive fate. After all, this was the cyberpunk world. But Rebecca kept resisting. She really couldn't bear to watch the person she loved head toward destruction. At that time, she still held on to a glimmer of hope to take down Faraday, rescue Lucy, and let Lucy guide David back to normal. But when David fell into a hallucination and said he was going to reach the top of Arasaka Tower, Rebecca finally accepted the reality. Since David was willing to give up his humanity to fulfill Lucy's dream, then she would give up herself to fulfill David's wish. It could be said that the moment he said those words, Rebecca's sacrifice was inevitable. Rebecca's feelings were very pure. It was just love, and it was love for a person. In the end, she made this sacrifice out of her pure emotions. This was a rebellion against the gloom of the cyberpunk world, a resistance against the entire worldview. She was a bright spot in this dark world.